All right, this is episode 2 of the Resilience Chronicles, coming to you unfiltered, uncut, and raw as fuck. I've decided not to wait on telling these stories, so here is episode 2, and we are going to dive into the story of the car saga. This episode is also, we're coming to you in real time as the drama unfolds, but I'm going to go back and tell you some past stuff to kind of catch you up on the context of what is going on. A few hours ago, I was not in a good place, but I have already transcended that, and I have decided, it is time to just say, bring it on, motherfucker. So, here we go. This summer, I think it was like May, I was coming home from the beach, going left on a green arrow, and some dude came straight through his red light and smashed right into me, totaled my car. Very unexpected, and then it just so happened he was driving his wife's car without insurance. He was an excluded driver on her policy, so there's just not jack shit. And so this was my difficult learning experience of Florida, driving in Florida, and the road laws in Florida are just pretty horrible. My lawyer told me that 25% of Florida drivers are uninsured. I don't really know how they get away with it, but here I am cruising around trying to do the right thing. I mean, I drove a, car that's valued at $5,000, so I just had liability. Also, car insurance in Florida is insanely expensive. It's like 5 times as much as anywhere else. So I was cruising with liability only because my car's paid off and, didn't have that high of a value. But, since the other guy, it was 100% his fault, but he did not have insurance, I was just out a car. So, for the first time in my, since I was first got my driver's license, I think at 17, I didn't have a car for quite a while. This whole summer, fall, but St. Pete's pretty easy to get around in, so it wasn't that big of a deal, although it also wasn't super awesome. And then the hurricanes happened, I lost my house, didn't have a house, didn't have a car. It's like, damn, anyway, I'll go to those sagas some other time. But I did finally get a car in December. One of the last, another saga, a small shred of humanity left in my ex, is he was able to help me finally get this car, which was really my ticket to freedom. But it was one of these situations where, as I go through these sagas, guys, it's like the amount of shit that has happened to me over the last 2 years in life is just straight up insane. It is just absolutely insane. And may or may not get into the story for another time. I think there's definitely some spiritual and energetic components going on, and we'll see if some of those come out. But at the end of the day, is you can't stop fighting. And I think I mentioned in my maybe my last video how things are pretty gnarly towards the end of last year, but I really woke up and decided I'm digging out of this fucking hole. However, here I am, literally still in the middle of clawing up the walls of this fucking well that I am in, and this shit has not stopped. I do really think part of it is just being in Florida. I've got to get the fuck out of here. Okay, so let me put it this way. So this is a fun story. So this is, I don't know, this actually is really important to the context of this story right now, so I'll go into it. So when, after the hurricanes, before the new year, I was in this situation where I feel I was, my life force energy was being drained by this environment that I was in. And I woke up to it, and I, really started to kind of see what was going on, but it's even what you just do, you first become aware, and it's okay, well, what do I do? How do I extricate myself from this? Because it's never as simple as just, I'll just walk over there and everything's fine, So I was able to, start to find my way out, and part of finding my way out was getting a car, so literally I could get out. But I remember, I kind of was, I was a little bit afraid. It's okay, well, I'm gonna get a car, but I'm gonna buy a relatively cheap used car. There's no guarantees on these things. And what if I buy the wrong one? So I did, all the due diligence that I could on this thing, just knowing that at the end of the day, it's a gamble, but it's a gamble you have to take. So I got this car. I was supposed to do this drive up to Delaware like a couple days after I buy this car. And so we decided to take my new car, which is probably a really dumb idea. But the check engine light comes on like literally 20 miles out, on this, we're driving from St. Petersburg to Delaware, get across the bridge to Tampa, and the check engine light comes on. The entire car's loaded up with everything. So it's like shit. So we turn around, load up the truck instead, end up doing that trip, and it's like, okay, well, I'll deal with that when I get back. So it's like I bought this car 2 days before. Check engine light comes on like the next day. We're gone for a week, get back, take the car into the shop. It's like $600 repair. It's like, okay, whatever, fix it. I get the car back. And then by this time, I am like, I'm knowing I need to use my car to get out of the situation. So like the car running and being fixed is really important. I pick up the car from the shop from the $600 repair. It's like, okay, whatever, like it's okay, and the airbag light comes on. And this was kind of like scary for me because of that car accident I was in this past summer where just blindsided from a dude running a red light, like when I was going, on a green arrow. And my airbag saved my life. Like my car was super total, all the airbags went off, and I walked away relatively unscathed. I mean, a little bit of whiplash, not ideal, especially after, previous concussion, but like it could have been so much worse. So like my car, I loved my car. I mean, sure, she was only a little $5,000 Chevy Sonic, but she was cute and beautiful, and I had developed a relationship with this car because this car had got me through some shit, and she laid down her life for me, and it was very sad. It was so sad to say goodbye to her in the junkyard, but she saved my life with her airbags. So part of doing my research on what car I wanted to buy next, I wanted to get a car that could tow trailer, a good amount of weight, wanted a 4x4 if I was going to get like a SUV or a truck. So I ended up getting a Jeep Grand Cherokee 4x4, like 2012. It was like $6,000. Again, kind of, I like buying the cheap. I'm just not a car person, so I can't justify putting a ton of money into a car because I just don't really care about the cars. Very useful for getting you around and transportation and stuff. But I figured if I'm going to buy a used car and it probably is going to need a little bit of work, I might as well get a lower priced one so I can afford to put a little bit of work into it if I needed to. So first $600 repair, no big deal. But then I pick it up and now the airbag light's on. So I bring it back to the same shop thinking maybe they just jostled something. They're like, this is totally unrelated. Take it to the dealer who deals with airbags. So I take it to the dealer, and then they're like, oh, it's going to be $200 just to tell you how much it costs to fix it. And then the repair could be anywhere between $200 and $5,000. And it's just like, this is insane. And then they're also like, oh, and your check engine light is like not on right now because they cleared it, but like it's about to come back on. And I'm like, oh, what the heck is going on? So I have this moment at that time where it was just like, what the fuck? Because I'm trying to drive to Wisconsin by myself in a couple days, and like I need this car to be safe and okay to drive. And I was having thermostat issues, whereas the first repair. But after sitting there, like, so I kind of had this like deep knowing that like this is an illusion. Like it seems very real and it's very scary because literally my airbag light is on, which means, so the dealer's also like, if your airbag light is on, your airbags just don't work. The entire system just doesn't work. Even if it's just like a wiring issue or something, it's just shut down. So at first that's really scary, but then I realized, I also ride motorcycles. So like driving in a car, even if it doesn't have airbags, is still safer than riding my motorcycle. So like this isn't a reason not to drive. The airbag issue was actually an issue of like cooling too much versus not enough. So also, even if I don't get that fixed, not really that big of a deal to drive. It's just the heat maybe won't work as well when I get up there. Either way, I gotta get the fuck out, and then I'll fix that stuff when I get to Wisconsin. Just had this deep knowing that it was delusion and I needed to get out. I kind of had this like analogy or like metaphor in my head that it was like I felt like I was trapped in a web being here in Florida, and if I could just get far enough out of that web of the influence of this like benevolent energy that has clearly been affecting my life for the last couple of years, like it would be okay. But it was also fucking scary because it's like at this point with the kind of, shit that's been going on in my life over the last couple of years, it's like, but am I going to get in a car accident and fucking die on the way there? Like that felt like a very real reality, but it was like, I can't stay here and be like slowly drained. It's like, I got to just do it. So decided to do that. Airbag light's still on. I did take it back to the shop with the check engine light thing, and then they did something else, and then light went off and it didn't come back on, so the thermostat issue appeared to be fixed. So I start driving up to Wisconsin, you know, with me and my dogs and everything, and like I get to Georgia, you know, I've been driving almost all day. I was kind of tired, but I was like, nah, I don't think I want to stop and stay here. So I kept going. I was like, I'd like to get, you know, somewhere in Tennessee, just no other reason than just seemed kind of arbitrary. But once I crossed that Tennessee state line, without even like thinking about it, like I look up, I see the states, the Tennessee, you know, sign, and I just organically, instantly just took this big breath. It just felt like it's just like a relieving breath. It was just like, you know, like there wasn't even really any thoughts involved. And I look down and the fucking airbag light is off. Just off. Which to me was just like such a confirmation of, I mean, it was an illusion. Literally was an illusion. Now, I didn't expect that illusion to be just like such intangible reality. I mean, I thought I'd get up to Wisconsin and then take it to the shop and figure out getting the airbags fixed and all of that. But that light just disappeared and it has not come back on since. So that was pretty amazing and was really a confirmation, like, I'm doing the right thing here. So that's a little tidbit. Now, so knowing this, so then I go to Wisconsin with everything, you know, I had a great time for the holidays, whatever, go through, you know, all the stuff there, stories for another time. I come back to Florida, but like I was a little bit worried driving back to Florida that I'd be like driving back into this web, you know, what's going to happen now, what's going to happen here. Now, I think I also mentioned in the last video, it's like, I just decided to make this massive change in my life, and it's almost like a law of this world, this earth, this universe, that like, there's gonna be obstacles, you know? So I get back down here, and, you know, there's definitely like some things, but again, stories for another time, because I want to focus on the car saga right now. My car was making this like slight clunking sound every once in a while that like, I don't remember when it started, but it was like pretty mild and minor, but I was like, okay, that's just probably something I should have looked at before I tow a U-Haul to Las Vegas. So I knew coming back down here from Wisconsin that like I should take it in and get that sound checked out. So as soon as you know, I you know, got through my New Year's gigs and whatever, and then it was like, okay, like time to take the car in. So I take it into like a mechanic that has like a really good reputation, like I know people who have gone there. They have, you know, great reviews, like seems like a pretty trustworthy place. So I take it up there, and he calls me and he's like, oh, you know, it's your rear drive shaft is wiped out and you need a whole new drive shaft. They don't make them anymore. They're, you know, like we can't even find one. So like he has nothing for me other than that. And I was like, it was like early in the morning when he tells me this, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to sleep and then I'll figure that out, you know, when I wake up and I'm more cognizant. And so I get up, you know, big obstacle, but it's like, okay, cool, like here's the first obstacle, let's just solve this, right? So I call around to figure out, like, actually drive shafts are this whole thing. You can have them made specifically for your car. It's really not that big of a deal. They're definitely not cheap, but compared to like the first quote I got, which was like, I mean, I think he told me that they cost, you know, $1,200 or something. Like I ended up finding a place that could make a whole new one for my car for like $630. The labor to put it in isn't that big of a deal. Then I did take it somewhere for a second opinion, but then they wanted like $2,500, whatever. So I took it back to the first guy. He, you know, tell him to order the drive shaft, put it in. But then it ends up taking like 2 weeks because they're all backed up, whatever. Anyway, $1,100. 2 weeks later, I get my car back thinking, okay, we're good to go now. Drive it away, get home, go to the store. It's making the same goddamn noise, the same clunking noise that I took it in the first place for. It's too late to call the mechanic back that day. They're closed, so I try to call them the next day. They don't answer. Go up there. They're closed. Must be on vacation or something. Take it to a different shop. He's like, you know, tell him the Saga. He's like, okay, cool, I'll send somebody with you to hear the noise. Bring it back tomorrow. So I bring it back to him the next day. And he's like, oh, cool, that'll be $120 to diagnose this noise for you. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you couldn't have told me that yesterday? So I was like, no. I'm just going to wait and take it back to the first guy, see what he says, you know, he doesn't charge me money to diagnose the noise in the car. Although he didn't, obviously, so lesson. Make sure they're hearing the same noise that you do. Because, like, I sure that drive shaft needed to be fixed, but it was not causing the noise that I was hearing. He was hearing a different noise. So he's on vacation for a while. He comes back. I get him in the car with me. He hears this clunking noise. He's like, okay, cool. I think that's probably the motor mounts. Like, let me get up off the lift, look underneath. So he does that. You know, motor mounts are shot. It's like, okay, cool. That should be it. So bring it in on Wednesday. Should be done the same day. It's like, okay, cool. Finally, right? Like, this is already a big enough of a saga, okay? So today is Wednesday, so I brought it in this morning, okay? And then I'll tell you this too. So I bring it in this morning. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, ideally, you know, it's gonna be done by the end of the day. Another $500 to $700, and like then I can drive to Vegas, right? Because that's like me getting there is really hinging upon me having a vehicle that can tow the U-Haul to take all of my stuff over there. And me and my dogs, you know, and everything, having the fucking car. So I really like this. This is actually probably the hardest day that I have had since this whole thing started. That's maybe a story for another time, but like inevitably there's going to be hard days. So I was in I probably have not been really processing my emotions enough over the last week. If I'm gonna be honest with myself, I've been kind of just like, kind of in survival mode and just like get this shit done. So I've been kind of like putting that over there and just like go. But you know what? It's kind of like holding a beach ball underwater, like at some point, like you're not going to be able to do that anymore. So earlier today, I was kind of already in this place where like shit's getting hard. Shit's hard. And when you're in survival mode for long enough, like you're gonna reach a tipping point at some point, especially, I'm doing my best, but like, I'm still a human too. So it's like, we're not going to balance these things perfectly all the time. So I hit this kind of like little bit of a tipping point today. So I was already kind of came home. I was like already like crying on the couch. And then I get the call from my mechanic and he's like, I've got bad news. And he's basically like, I don't even know how to explain. Like he tries to explain these things to me in detail, and it's like a little bit beyond my comprehension because I'm not a mechanic that understands all of. I mean, I know the basics, but like this is more than the basics. So long story short, he thinks. I mean, it's transmission issues. Something about like the drive shafts aren't engaging and working all together. And that's what it sounds like. This noise that like this clunky noise that I hear is like kind of feels like it sounds to me like the gear doesn't catch for a minute and then I like it and then it does. That's a fucking issue, So it makes sense to me that, I mean, it would be a transmission and gear shifty situation. And of course, it's 4x4, so it's more expensive, more difficult. It's a Jeep, so they have Mercedes transmission, so I guess, like, that's more expensive than the other transmissions. So the one thing I don't like about this guy so far is he likes to call me and present problems without solutions. So I also recognize, like, this is what, he did this the first time, and then he just did it again today. So he calls, and he's like, here's this problem. It's a big problem. It's an expensive problem. And I'm like, okay, cool. So like, where do we go from here? Like how much, how long, what has to be done, right? Doesn't have, he's like, well, let me call you back once I talk to my transmission guy, get some more information. But I gotta be honest, since I was already in a not great place, right? And then getting that news, it was just like, I mean, it was a little bit like you just like I kind of go and it's like I'm almost like I don't know, a little bit in shock because it's like what, like again, like I've already put $1,600 into fixing this fucking car, which is like okay, it was a used car, I expect that, but like now you're telling me that it might need a whole transmission rebuild or like a new transmission kind of thing, which like just like we all know that's like almost worst case of what could happen to a car, right? Like, or your engine seizing or something, but like, it's kind of a big deal. It's like, at that point, it's like, what the fuck? Like, do I just now, so I just bought this car and now I just like don't have a car? Like, long story short, I don't know the answers yet. So it is like, at first my brain wanted to spin out about all these things, okay? Because that's what brains like to do, especially when we're in that kind of like down kind of place. So I let it do that for a second, sat there and cried, called my sister. We call these people, they're like don't necessarily have the advice that is in alignment with like what our real big visions and knowing for ourselves are, but of course they're doing their best and offering their best. But yeah, so I just laid there for a little while, kind of staring at the wall. It's like I don't I can't, like, okay, the next action steps are like getting the information and getting the data, right? And I don't have that yet. I don't have that from the guy yet. So knowing that, it's like, okay, so I called the dealer to try to get an idea on some information. You know, I can, there's a lot of data collecting I can do to figure this out, but I am happy with my brain and myself that despite all of this, even these moments of, you know, difficulty and hardship, like, here's the thing is, it's just the next obstacle. I know that I'm getting to Vegas. I don't know actually when or even fucking how, but I know that I'm not going to give up, and I know that I'm not going to quit. In those moments when we get this fucking horrible news, I mean, it's like, at first when that clucking noise happened again, it's like I felt like I was in like almost like the Twilight, like a time loop. And then there's like this other point, I just feel like I was in the Twilight Zone, and I don't even know what I feel like today. It's just like, this is fucking beyond. But it's almost like this either has to be an illusion, like it's another fucking illusion, or it's solvable. And probably a little bit of both. I mean, the illusion is, it's this insurmountable problem that can't possibly be fixed. I mean, that's always an illusion. It's solvable. It's solvable somehow. So, like, you know, it's cool to spend a moment in despair or something. I mean, we're only human, but, like, there's just no point of staying there. So, you know, I go out and take my dogs on a walk and go stand in the sun, you know, and I just come back to myself. You know, and we're like, do I want these problems to be happening? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. But, like, you just keep going and taking care of yourself. Like, I think that, you know, just even sitting here, like, processing these lessons right now, it's like self-trust keeps coming up, you know, and I have a lot of it. And I feel like this last week or so, I've been really encountering some very potent and obvious and significant lessons about where I'm not fully trusting, and where I'm not fully trusting myself and not fully having my back. And this isn't necessarily related to the car thing, but like also can be, because it's just like, we really do have the gut feelings, the intuition, like these things are in us, and you know, they're the deepest thing to be trusted, but we are so taught to override our instincts in this society. And while this is work I've been doing for many years, this is still work that I have far to go on. I mean, I think this is work this is the work of our lives. You know, to learn to really trust ourselves and follow our own instincts and do our own, you know, what is right for us. So I can look at this last week and see some really potent places where I didn't do that. But today, like, this was a big wake-up call for me. Like, I have been working at that goddamn bar too much. It logically makes sense in survival mode, like need, so do. But there has to be, I kind of hate the word balance, but for lack of a better word, there's got to be some balance in there. And I can see where I should have taken the night off here or there to really rest and recharge in myself. And instead I was like, no, I'm just going to do this, because I'm like, I don't know where the Taurus is in my chart, but like, I'm stubborn as fuck. And I mean, it's this combination of like, I have a very strong work ethic. I'm a survivor. I will do what needs to be done. But there can be like taking that too far. And I can easily take that too far, which is, I think, you know, what I've been doing. So I'm coming to you in real time to say that, well, tonight I decided to take the night off, because that is what's in alignment with what I need for my heart and my soul and my mental health. And I trust that even by taking that action, it is going to help things like click into an alignment. I don't I can't know exactly what the solution is from sitting here right now, but I know that anything is solvable. I mean, earlier today it was like, how much can one human handle? Like, what the fuck? You know, they say, like, we're not given more than we can handle, right? And in these moments when things are, like, so bad and piling up, it really makes it seem like, you know, earlier today it was like, how the fuck can I handle all of this? But I don't even know exactly what I'm looking at. Okay, so remember, when we get these times so often, like, we don't know exactly what we're looking at or exactly what we're dealing with. And so it seems bigger or badder or worse. I mean, even if we could get really clear on the thing and it is big and bad, if we can get clear on it, then we can find the solutions. We can create the solutions. Like, we can solve stuff, but we can't solve this, like, vague something, right? So sitting here, like, my problem, this next car problem, is still quite vague. So there's no point in getting super upset or overwhelmed about something that's vague. Like, I need more information. I need to put the pieces together. I could do a little bit more research tonight, but it is after hours. So there's a certain amount of information I can't get until tomorrow. That's okay. I gather those things tomorrow. But I'm coming to you right now in real time, because this is, again, like, it'd be one thing if I overcome this and tell this story, like, and then this bad thing happened, and then this wonderful thing happened. But what about in the moments when the bad things are happening? What about then? Right? Because, like, this is the moment where I need that trust the most. Like, this is a moment where I could easily self-sabotage or make things worse for myself. But what's the point of that? That would not be useful. So, like, yes, I let myself feel the things and process the things that are there and that are real, and I take care for myself. I have self-presence. I go more fully in to the trust and into my vision. Like, I know my path, I know my calling, and I know that this is not going to derail me. I may have to shift or adjust, learn how to come over, like, work around some obstacle, but it's solvable. Everything is solvable. So, fuck, man, I don't know why it has to be this goddamn hard, but whatever. That's not a question that I or anyone can answer. So, yeah, so that is the real time. Here we are in the middle of Saga. I will update you later, but there's a little bit of the background of the car saga, the real time of the car saga, and, you know, I'll update you on the solution and evolution of the car saga when I have one. So thanks for being here with me. We'll keep going on this ride, and sending lots of love to all of you. And if you have your own struggles or your own future struggles, just, that's a big part of the reason why I want to share this stuff. It's just like, we're not alone in this. And I'm sure there's people with gnarlier struggles than I, and I also want to share this is only one snippet of the enormity of the last couple years. So sometimes I find it's also helpful to be like, oh, damn, at least that's not happening to me. And, like, maybe we can reframe and find some solutions for ourselves. So, yeah. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.